economy, and everything that pertains Kenya as it is. We are online on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. The hashtag is The Morning Drift. I am on X at KIAGE SIMBA. Essentially, let's get then talking this morning. It's a day when the Senate has warned governors and the deputy governors. This following what the Senate has seen as fights between the deputy governors in what is now conflicting devolution. It's in rare occasions where we see running mates of the top elective posts start warring with the leaders, and the governor saying they are going to protect devolution as it currently is. So all the governors in the country have been put on warning. You continue, we close our eyes and protect devolution. It's coming a few days after the deputy governor for Kisii County, that is Mr. Monda, facing the chop at the Senate for corruption charges. Is the first one under this new dispensation then to go home on that front. This morning we're going to ask the questions as why governors and deputy governors are getting it the wrong way. Also, away from that, doctors have met through their threats this morning of going on strike. And I want to say this: you do not know how tough this is going to be until it gets close to you. This morning, majority of us, me included, have patients in these government hospitals across the country. Some will need critical care, some will need constant supervision. As we start the show this morning, we are in touch with my family to start looking for plan B or C should the doctors fail to appear in the hospitals today. Clinicians and doctors alike are telling us that it's time for you to look for plan B if indeed they do not turn up. My plea, my hope is that this particular issue is solved, because indeed if it starts to go down, then it's going to go down with a lot of casualties. Hopefully the country and the doctors are going to get into an agreement that is going to make them stop the strike. Or majority of us, me included, and the rest of you, as I then included, are going to face the brunt of the doctor strike that essentially, as of today, even removes the critical services that they have been offering during this period that they have been on strike. How this goes, it's a wait and see. Right, we take a sunny breather right here. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your newspapers this morning. My name is SIMBA Elijah Charles Gang. Let's talk about what is on the newspapers this morning, and we're going to start with the Daily Nation. Now, this is what we started the show yesterday by telling you exactly how accidents have been claiming a majority of Kenyans' lives. Here's the thing: today in the morning, tragedy, 12 students among at least 25 people who've lost their lives in a spate of road accidents that have also left dozens injured in the last 3 days across the country. This even as the government's empty directives after every avoidable tragic crash put into question its commitment to strictly enforce traffic rules and ensure the safety of all the road users. That story has been covered on page 2 and 3. By the way, if you want a snapshot, I will give it to you this morning. The students, a teacher and a student died, while several learners at Kapsabet Boys High School sustained injuries after their bus crashed on a Kapranet Marigat Road. That's how we opened the week last week. 1, Kiambu. On Saturday, controversial TikToker brand Shira dies following a hit and run incident on the Nderu Ruaka Road. 5, Bomet on Monday. 5 people die on the spot, while 18 others are injured after the matatu collides with a tractor at Salaik village on Bomet Kiptam Gich Road. 6, Migori on Tuesday. A fatal road accident at Kuja Bridge on the Migori Rongo Road claims An unconfirmed number of people with reports putting the deaths between 6 and 11. And then the biggest one, the Kenyatta University bus in Taita Taveta Monday, a bus carrying 54 Kenyatta University students killed 11 of them on the spot, with several of them injured. That's at least 52 of them injured and transferred to hospital. So 25 in just a week. In fact, if you want to put it together, that's 3 days of 25 deaths because of road accidents. Now, what the government has done, they've gone back. Now they want NTSA back. It's when now they're coming back to put these regulations together so they can avert these accidents. That is why also the Standard this morning is talking about too little, too late, new laws to tame accidents. Daily Nation calling it killer roads, claim 25 lives in a span of just 3 days alone across the country. Ooh, that's a big number. 25 in 3 days. Yeah? I mean, the biggest fight the country got into was COVID-19 with proper measures. Even COVID-19 was not getting to these numbers. Think about it. 25 in 3 days. What questions should we be asking around this particular area? All right, so we move away from that particular story and we're going to mention it slightly this morning. Now, schools under investigation for selling Form 1 slots. Story has been covered on page 7. And this could have been another headline this morning, where no end to patients' pain as doctors issue another strike notice over KIAGE tax push. It's a good thing that we do have a medic in the studio this morning who's going to point us to why this new strike notice against story has been covered on pages 4 and 5. There's a story here on housing tax cuts starting this month after President RUTO essentially signed into law the new affordable housing bill that is going to see you get deducted 1.5% of your gross income, both salaried and non-salaried. That's it. So it's NTSA back on highways, and driver retests and medicals are going to be conducted. Let's cross over to the Standard then. Some story, too little, too late. New laws to tame accidents. Kenyatta University will not be lecturing for the next 3 days to mourn the 11 students who died in an accident on the day. Transport CS announced tough measures to rein in on road carnage, including bringing back NTSA to highways. That story has been covered on page 2. And a story there, a picture there of Kenyatta University injured students then receiving treatment in Nairobi after being airlifted from Voi yesterday. Governors feel heaters leaders plot 2027 polls. Story has been covered on page 10. Shakahola families to get bodies finally. Families whose loved ones perished in the Shakahola massacre will have to wait for at least 1 week to collect the bodies. It emerged only 30 out of the 429 bodies were identified through the DNA tests. Story has been covered on page 3. Law state used to harass dissenters rendered illegal. Story has been covered on page 6. And KIAGE wants tax taught in schools. That story has been covered on page 18. All right, that's exactly how it looks this morning for the Standard. Saram wins fast track medal for Kenyan African Games. You're going to read that story on the back page of the Standard this morning. Now, majority of these stories have again been covered on our website on www.lookuptv.co.ke. Once you're there, a subscription, a like, a comment is all that we ask of you. We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to our newsroom this morning. Good morning. Police officers in Kiambu have arrested 140 people in a crackdown on illicit brew. Among them, 14 people who were smoking the outlawed hookah shisha. As Martin Macharia now reports, authorities have lauded the public for a tip-off as the country hastens the fight against illegal alcohol and drugs.
In efforts to curb the proliferation of illicit alcohol and unlicensed entertainment joints in Kiambu County, Senior Principal Chief George Kibugi led a raid on the newly established entertainment venue known as Quikin in Kiambu Town. Following a tip-off from area residents, upon arrival, authorities found customers drunk with others smoking the outlawed shisha.
Tuweza kupata ujumbe kutoka kwa informa wetu mbalimbali within Kiambu na wakatujulisha kwamba hii klabu kipi ambapo kimefunguliwa hapa Kiambu Town kinachoitwa Quikin. Masaa ya usiku kabisa ndio wanaanza kuwauzia vijana wala wana kunywa pale hiyo madawa kulevya inayoitwa shisha.
Confirming the arrest of over 140 individuals, Chief Kibugi disclosed that law enforcement confiscated the shisha paraphernalia along with other illicit substances found on the premises.
Weza kushika watu zaidi ya 145 wakiwa na makosa mbalimbali. Either wale wanakunywa pombe katika vilabu ambazo zinauza masaa mabaya, vilabu pia ambazo zinauza pombe masaa ambayo hayaambatani na sheria kulingana na license waliopewa.
The suspect, upon appearing before the Kiambu Law Court, admitted the charges brought against them, expressing remorse and pledging to refrain from such activities in the future. As a result, they were released on a cash bill of 5,000 Kenya shillings each. Chief Kibugi also issued a stern warning to entertainment establishments operating outside the bounds of the law, emphasizing the potential revocation of licenses by the liquor licensing boards, and affirmed that the crackdown would persist unabated, signaling a firm commitment to maintaining law and order in the region.
Tunangojea labda koti inaweza amua labda tufunge ama tuweze kuongea na watu wa liquor licensing tuone kama wanaweza vutilia mbali license yako, maana sasa ni ya pombe wamepewa license ya kuuza kama club pombe, lakini sasa maneno ya shisha hakuna, na shisha tumekuja kutambua kwamba kulingana na sheria haipaswi kuuzwa, ni manake ni madawa baadhi ya yale mabaya kulevya na yataharibu vijana wetu.
Martin Macharia, Lookuptv.
The Public Sector Accounting Standards Board has warned that pending bills pose a major threat to the economy. With national county governments owing billions in unpaid bills, the board noted that hundreds of traders had been blacklisted by banks for failing to service their loans. The board also stated that small and medium enterprises were the most affected.
The pending bill stating the national and county government is threatening to significantly slow down economic development. The Public Sector Accounting Board CEO Georgina Muchari has indicated that pending bills have affected many businesses, adding that the delays in releasing payments to public contractors have resulted to non-performing loans in the banking system.
The issue of pending bills is an issue that is known to everybody in this country. And of course, we all know the effects it has on businesses, because if these, especially small and medium-sized entities, are not paid in time, then it means that some of them are even being blacklisted by the banks to even get more loans to fund their businesses.
Addressing the press in Sawela Lodge, Naivasha, during the ongoing financial sensitization for county officials on the shift from cash to accrual financial system, Georgina indicated that last week the cabinet approved the transition from cash basis to accrual accounting targeting all government agencies.
But in the new accrual-based system, when they have invoiced me for a tax or maybe a penalty or a levy that I'm supposed to pay, then they should record that in the books of accounts.
Director of the board, Mary Kimanzi, say that transition to accrual accounting called for a shift from the current reporting structure as the new reporting framework took shape, adding that all public entities reporting under cash basis of the accounting will undergo a radical shift in their financial reporting, necessitating the need to deal with the current financial reporting structure.
We all know counties and many other government entities have been reporting on the basis of cash. But there's accrual accounting which provides for more disclosures in financial reporting.
Shamila Baraza, Lookuptv.
Azimio members of parliament have slammed Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu over delays in the release of school capitation funds. The leaders have demanded the immediate release of monies owed to schools, decrying that the government is sabotaging free education. Stanley Lugaria with more.
You are ready?
Led by Ugunja lawmaker Opeyo Wandai, the MPs claim the utterances by the Ministry of Education on Monday in response to delay in allocation and disbursement of education funds as a delay tactics by the ministry, a move that continues to hinder running of activities in across government learning institutions.
We have lost count of the numerous times such promises have been made since the Kenya Kwanza regime took over. This is turning out to be a game of lies, managing the public on the one hand, while setting up school heads for failure, which the ministry has now perfected. This is testament enough to the lack of commitment by the government to the future of this country's school-going children. Funds are yet to be remitted to schools for Form 1 students in secondary schools, whose first term is set to come to an end in a matter of weeks, in fact 2 weeks.
The MPs have faulted the government, revealing that the ministry is buying more time to endure a rage of the education sector stakeholders in the country. The lawmakers have attacked the government for not having a specific reason for the financial delay and want the entire process to be fast-tracked.
Schools are contemplating closing school earlier than scheduled and doing away with end-of-term tests because they can no longer afford basics like stationery. Some school administrators admit that they are forced to play hide and seek with school suppliers who are constantly and rightfully so demanding payments from these schools. In other cases, schools have resorted to slashing budget for extracurricular activities. It is as pathetic as it is chaotic. We had the PS lament that this capitation money is not meant for feeding children or pupils. Well, he must be made to understand that there's a ripple effect. When you don't release capitation money, it affects every other school program. Okay? Directly or indirectly. In a bid to make ends meet, some schools have resorted to either increasing boarding fees, food rationing, or changing the students' menu altogether to make ends meet.
The leaders have also asked the government to address the issue of funds delay in the education sector by responding to the needs of the sector regularly, while calling on President Ruto and their team to ensure the matter is handled with due respect. Stanley Lugaria, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Lugaria Stanley with that story. Then let's move on. Now, doctors have maintained that the national strike is on until their demands are met. While appearing before the Public Petition Committee regarding the posting of medical interns, the doctors challenged SRC's move to have the interns' salary reduced by 91%. Let's take a look.
Today marks the 6th day after doctors commenced a national strike. In one voice, they have vowed to continue downing their tools until the demands are met. Speaking after appearing before the Public Petition Committee on posting medical interns, the doctors have challenged SRS move to have the intern salary reduced by 91%.
Being offered in Kenyatta National Hospital, now the doctors have left. In the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, also the doctors have left. But the biggest concern that we had in this meeting is that as the meeting was progressing, we had in our possession a circular that is purported to come from the SRC that is reducing the salaries of our medical interns by 91%. We are also perturbed to realize that SRC is in the process to reduce salary of doctors, that is a call allowance, across the entire country. And therefore we are seeing that we may be in this strike for long.
Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Secretary General Daji Otela claims to have submitted a proposed bill last week in Parliament addressing their concerns. Top among the issues, posting of medical interns.
Be in this strike for long. The government has been in it for 7 years, but we may be in it for a very long time until the government realizes that there's need to respect the negotiated collective bargaining agreement, and also if there's need to sign the new agreement. We also came to the Parliament to have a discussion because we had delivered a petition last week on 4th of March regarding the issues pertaining to the CBA. And I think we have been given enough time to go and do our submission.
The doctors in the next 2 days are threatening to withdraw primary services in all national hospitals, adding that a national strike will be held this Friday in Nairobi, incorporating all doctors across the country.
I am more certain that in the next 1 or 2 days, realize that even they will not be able to do emergencies, both in Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, both in the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospitals and Kenyatta National Hospital. Because we realize the government is in contempt of court. Kenyatta himself were in contempt of the courts. That on Friday this week, all the doctors across the country will assemble in Nairobi and will be having a very big demonstration, mother of all demonstration, to demonstrate, to illustrate to the government that we are not happy and we will not be happy for anything rather than the outcomes of the issues that we raised in our strike notice.
Mavin Getembe, Lookuptv.
President William Ruto has signed into law the Affordable Housing Bill 2023, paving the way for the reinstatement of housing levy deductions from this month. The signing ceremony was conducted in a State House, Nairobi, and attended by key government officials. Employees will now be deducted 1.5% of the gross monthly pay, the amount that will be matched by their employer.
State House, Nairobi. The signature to make the housing levy is appended, making it the Housing Act. This comes after months of push and pull from the judiciary to the legislature to the executive and back to the people. The Affordable Housing Bill is now law. The president's signature signals the return of housing levy deductions beginning in April as the government puts measures in place to ensure everything is okay.
Pays rent at 3,000 to pay 3,000 and own a home in Kenya. It will give a chance to a border guy and every hustler in Kenya who today lives in a shack that has no water, that has no electricity, that has no access, that has no sanitation. It's going to dignify their lives, and they too, like the rest of society, can own.
Under the new law, Kenyans in the informal sector and others not salaried will pay 1.5% of their monthly gross earnings to fund the Kenya Kwanza government's housing project.
In this affordable housing program, there is a chance for every Kenyan. Those who want bigger houses will have an opportunity to get it. Those who want affordable houses will have an opportunity to get it. And those who want social houses will have an opportunity to get it.
Kenyans were worried ya kwamba wabwanyenye wataweza kununua hiyo nyumba zote wakuwe zao alafu waweze kuziuza back into the market kwa bei ambayo iko juu kwa sababu iko affordable. Na kwa hivyo tukaongezea kipengele kingine ya kusema 1 KRA pin 1 house. Kwa hivyo utaweza kuchukua zaidi ya nyumba moja.
The new legislation ropes in workers in the informal sector for the regulations to be in agreement with the High Court ruling that rendered it unconstitutional last year. The legislation received approval from both the Senate and the National Assembly last week and now includes amendments that involve the participation of county governments. Under the new provisions proposed by the Senate, governors will establish county liaison committees tasked with overseeing the implementation of the affordable housing program. Brian Amwai, Lookuptv, Nairobi.
Now, let's ask ourselves a question. You have a running mate as a governor. But the moment you get in office, fights begin between you and your deputy governor. It's something the majority of Kenyans have been looking at, and they're worried about why that would occur. Well, we've seen it in national politics, where the president and the deputy president will not see eye to eye, but never at any one point did they take each other for impeachment. Well, they will have differences, but they never approach impeachment motions. Now, let's talk about Monda's case. Monda the deputy governor of Kisii County, is the latest one to be ousted from office through impeachment, ending a protracted power struggle with Governor SIMBA. That's where it is. It's a protracted power struggle. Today, the Daily Nation essentially puts it right that deputy governors are fighting their governors because they feel can actually take over from their governors. We talk about that this morning. And the power struggle we've seen between political parties, where a governor, once presented for impeachment, cannot be impeached because then they belong to a certain party. That is the Kenya Kwanza versus the Azimio coalition struggles. Once we come back, we talk about that, put into proper perspective, why the government has not essentially gotten a solution around the doctor strike right here, and ask ourselves the question, is it that easy to impeach a governor in this country? Is that easy to shut down a deputy governor on the basis of violation of the Constitution? And also what the senators meant when they said they will protect devolution and close their eyes on the governors and their DGs. Once we come back right here on the morning drift this morning, we're joined by Mr. Shiyuka Douglas, who's the national chairman, Kenya Kwanza Lobby Groups. Also in the house, we do have Sankara Kennedy, who's the national youth policy analyst, advocate, and also George Mawawa Gibore, who is the general secretary, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Once we come back right here on the morning drift, my name is SIMBA Charles. Can I get the hashtag is the morning drift.
Once again, tuko hapa Angel Center for Abandoned Kids, all because of you.
My name is Catherine Wanjiru. I am the admin, Angel Center for Abandoned Children. Our founder is Wamaitha Mwangi. We currently have 64 children, 32 going to school, and among those 32, 2 are special children, and we are left at the home with 32. Now the toddlers and the infants. To the RUTO Foundation, thank you so much for remembering us. Guys, we lack words. We lack words. Amazing. We don't know what to say. Thank you for remembering us. You made a promise and you have delivered. And may God bless you. To my fellow Kenyans, as usual, cheza Loto, sio ndoto. Angel Center tumeshinda Loto.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the RUTO Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Are you a junior secondary school, a college, a TVET institution or a university and you want to advertise your intake? Book now and advertise with us today on both Lookuptv and all our digital platforms. Call us today. Or email us on sales@lookuptv.co.ke.
Taarifa zinapochipuka na kutufikia papa hapa kwenye makao makuu ya chumba cha habari cha runinga ya Lookup, kwenye taifa, kwenye serikali, kwenye bunge, tunajitosa hadi kwenye sauti ya wenyeji ili kupata tu maoni ya wenyeji kuhusu masuala haya yanayochipuka.
Maana hii kitu inaenda kuumiza Mkenya kwa tax.
Hakuna kitu tunafurahia. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sisi tunaumia, si ati tunaumia ile ya kiukweli. Juu maisha ni ngumu.
Bila shaka tunapata maoni yao ili sauti yao ipate kusikika. Na watasema hili, waseme lile, watasema hiki, waseme kile, almuradi sauti yao ipate taa.
Mambo ya mafuta tena imekuwa ni changamoto zaidi kwa kila mtu wa bodaboda.
Uchumi ikikuwa stable, tunaamini mambo itakuwa sawa sawa.
Kwanza liko na ria wasa wa boda, mama mboga nini. Hao sasa ndio wamefinywa zaidi
mtazamaji, hii ni bunge la wenyeji.
Mambo ni mawili: kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.
Muka we msee. Nini mbaya? Wewe kwani unibidi dereva anaendesha gari vibaya? Lazima tususe. Anaendesha gari na kwa simu the whole time hata angalia barabara. Wewe dereva wewe. Mwaka iliyopita peke yake watu zaidi ya 3,000 walipoteza maisha yao barabarani kwa sababu ya tabia kama hizo. Hautatuangamiza tukiona.
Naomba msamaha, nitampeleka vizuri.
Si wameomba msamaha. Sasa twende tusafiri kwa mwendo wa aste.
Dere Smart hufikisha abiria salama. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na NTSA kwa ushirikiano na European Union.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
Welcome back to Lookuptv. My name is SIMBA, Elijah Charles KIAGE. This morning, as we are going to talk politics, there's an issue between the governors and the deputy governors. But then before we get there, today, majority of Kenyans, my family included, have to look for plan B. We've been informed that those hospitals that our patients have been receiving medication currently, they're going to be paralyzed today. That essential medical care that doctors have been giving, they're going to withdraw it today. So even patients in those critical services wards, they're not going to receive that medication today. So it's up to the families now to start looking for plan B and know what's going to happen. See, last week we thought we were making progress when TS Nakumincha came in and said, well, they're going to continue talking with the doctors until they come up with a framework, until the doctors saw a circular of planned reduction of medical intern salaries. That's when they said, this is not proper progress. Guess what? Let's look at that particular story this morning, talk about it with a gentleman that I'm going to introduce shortly on the set, before we delve into our bigger story this morning, the feud between the governors and the deputy governors. Let's take a look at this story that was filed by one Amai Brian.
Peace, Dr. Monda, but as you know, I abstained. The reason for that is that I have...
Today marks the 6th day after doctors commenced a national strike. In one voice, they vowed to continue downing the tools until the demands are met. Speaking after appearing before the Public Petition Committee on posting medical interns, the doctors have challenged SRS move to have the intern salary reduced by 91%.
Being offered in Kenya National Hospital, now the doctors have left. In the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, also the doctors have left. But the biggest concern that we had in this meeting is that as the meeting was progressing, we had in our possession a circular that is purported to come from the SRC that is reducing the salaries of our medical interns by 91%. We are also perturbed to realize that SRC is in the process to reduce salary of doctors, that is a call allowance, across the entire country. And therefore we are seeing that we may be in this strike for long.
Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union Secretary General Daji Otela claims to have submitted a proposed bill last week in Parliament addressing their concerns. Top among the issues, posting of medical interns.
Be in this strike for long. The government has been in it for 7 years, but we may be in it for a very long time until the government realizes that there's need to respect the negotiated collective bargaining agreement, and also there's need to sign the new agreement. We also came to the Parliament to have a discussion because we had delivered a petition last week on 4th of March regarding the issues pertaining to the CBA, and I think we have been given enough time to go and do our submission.
The doctors in the next 2 days are threatening to withdraw primary services in all national hospitals, adding that a national strike will be held this Friday in Nairobi, incorporating all doctors across the country.
I am more certain that in the next 1 or 2 days, realize that even they will not be able to do emergencies, both in Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, both in the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospitals and Kenyatta National Hospital. Because we realize the government is in contempt of court. Kenyatta himself were in contempt of the courts. That on Friday this week, all the doctors across the country will assemble in Nairobi and will be having a very big demonstration, mother of all demonstration, to demonstrate, to illustrate to the government that we are not happy and we will not be happy for anything rather than the outcomes of the issues that we raised in our strike notice.
Mavin Getembe, Lookuptv.
That's it. We'll keep on talking about this particular story then. Let me then introduce the gentlemen who are joining us this morning, again officially this morning, and we're going to get clarity on this particular issue and get where the government is coming from, essentially on also reducing the salaries for medical interns at a time when negotiations for posting more medical interns and looking for the 1.2 billion that they were not given in the 3.67 billion that was released thereof was getting talked about. All right, so this morning then we are joined by one Mr. Shiuka Douglas, who is the national chairman Kenya Kwanza Lobby Groups. How are you doing, Mr. Shiuka?
Good morning.
Happy to have you around. All right, also this morning we are joined by George Maroa Gibore, who is the General Secretary, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. George, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Happy to have you around. We are also joined by one Sankara Kennedy, who is the National Youth Policy Analyst Advocate. How are you doing, sir?
I'm not well, Simba.
You're not well. We're going to begin like that. It's a good thing that George is here. Guess what? Can you put into perspective this new round of improved push for the doctors to go on strike? Here's what we do know. They're staging a nationwide strike on Friday, demanding the government to honor their collective bargaining agreement, CBA, that dates all the way back to 2017. Now, parts of the agreements are including promotion, medical cover, and placement of interns. CS Nakuminja said would take effect in April 2024. Now, however, yesterday, when the doctors were essentially pushing for that, a letter showing the amount each intern should be paid depending on different levels angered Kenyans, causing a breakdown in negotiations yesterday. In fact, that circular essentially indicated some medical interns would take home as low as 13,000 after statutory deductions. Is that why the doctors have now said we are out of the negotiations and we're going to withdraw critical services for majority of these hospitals, therefore culminating to the nationwide strike on Friday? George.
Okay, thank you again for having me, Simba. And it's good that we are starting from where it is paining, because that's where majority of Kenyans are really suffering. And we have to say it probably, if the government is not keen enough to address this issue, instead of what they are doing, they are escalating it. Probably we may see it worsening in the next probably 1 week or 2 weeks to come. I think we are staring at a crisis where we might see also other healthcare workers joining the medical officers, that's the KMPDU membership, who are already on strike during their first week. And I believe that there was every reason for the ministry to do things right. Now that we have a new turn of event,
yes,
where there is a circular circulating from the SRC, which has insinuated of deducting whatever the medical officers interns, clinical officers, BSCs have been earning, yes, and also the BCN, that's the nursing officers, the dental, pharmaceutical, among others who have been going for internship. And we must make it very clear that these allowances were earned by virtue of negotiations, so you don't just take them away. And in any case, what we have realized, it is more of a push-down method where the government is actually you find like the ministry itself, starting from the CS, cannot defend what is happening.
In terms of the deductions,
there is a remote control push here, yes, where they are being pushed to do things without reasoning. How did this one come about and how do we change it?
Yes.
First, it is by virtue of the provision of the law that medical staff, that is trainees, goes for internship, specifically for those who make critical decision about patient. That's the clinical services, who offer clinical services. Because if you don't do that, a fresh person with the theory, because you know institution varies on how they execute their training. So for you taking this person, go do internship, they learn how to do what intervention to come, what time. It is a key thing that, yes, happened. It's not only in Kenya. We are training people for global. We have to benchmark with the global. We are members of the WHO. These are recommended. These are global standards. So if you try push them down, then are we trying to go more of retrogressive? So we must be very clear that this is an atrocity which is being orchestrated on the health professionals, especially for those who are going on internship. What we expected actually is to ensure that we have been asking for harmonization for the diploma clinical officers who they were not paying as is supposed to be, because the body, the constitutional body, that is the Public Service Commission, which is mandated to establish position, had already provided establishment for all the interns. That's to mean at least they have a job group which applies now and informs that if at all you have a job group, the payment at that job group applies to you. If it is H, if it is K, if it is M, all of them, then you have to go that as a medical officer, as a clinical officer, so what is it that you ought to do? Yes. So it's only the clinical officers in turn who are not getting, and we'll have wished that they now put them at a good pay that is supposed to be, because they were only paying them 15,000 after a long push. And we know that that's a matter which was also being escalated through the court process. And you'll see what they have done is that they have now trimmed, for those who are earning as part of the job group, yes, they want to pay them now a small amount, and what they call stipend. And they have now lifted also for the diploma a bit higher. But it's not translating to anything, because when these taxation are coming, they are also actually meted on them.
Yes.
They have also been forced immediately they are from school, they are now paying, including the help, which was not applying previously.
Yes.
So actually you find someone who, like those who are paid 15,000, they were taking home around 9,000, which 9,000 they can't pay wherever their rent, they can't be able to feed themselves, they can't be able to actually commute to their place of internship, and that has been affecting them. Yeah. I think then this is a call to the ministry to re-strategize properly, because we need stakeholders' participation to make key decisions that is affecting people. You cannot push it down that way. This country is not owned by the people who are in office, it is owned by everyone, including those who do not have any position today, including the students, including the mandatory interns, which the law actually call endangered learners. So to that extent, I was in Parliament yesterday, yes, and the parliamentarian also wondering why is it that they must be paid. And we are saying this is a different thing, because one, these interns are building our staff, yes, because we do not have enough staff. So when they go there, they have been introduced, or rather inducted into what they are supposed to be doing. You will find that they are the one who are doing cesarean section, they are the one who are doing a number of admission in the hospital. Actually, they run the inpatient, yes, of our facility, because they are there full time. And even the graduates, sometimes you find that they appear there for 3 hours and they disappear, for those who are supposed to be there. So indeed, these are people who are working, and they must be compensated for their doing. And that's what must be called for.
That's pretty much. Mr. Shiuka, let's open it like this. You're in the middle of a negotiation that this current payment scale for interns is actually as a result of another negotiation that took place prior to this. Doctors didn't have a problem with whether medical interns were getting paid in this negotiation. No, they were just saying release that capitation so the interns can get posted and get paid under the scale that we negotiated for prior to that. In fact, they were pushing for 1.2 billion out of the 3.6 billion that was released, because they were asking for 5 billion, which is around 5.8 billion, for 5 billion thereof. In the middle of a negotiation, a circular from SRC emanates that is negating whatever it is they're trying to push for. Somebody asked, is that not the worst indiscipline you'd ever see from a government ever? That when they're trying to push for more money, in between the meeting, Shiyuka, a circular emanates that says, oh, now we got to cut down the amount of money that we're paying medical interns in the country. In between a negotiation, the negotiations broke off. And I've been asking this question over and over again, Mr. Shiyuka. At what point are we going to look at somebody in the Ministry of Health and say, maybe you should go home, because this is not a negotiation technique? That now couldn't have been the right time for SRC to release that circular to the Ministry of Health. That probably now the Ministry of Health should have spoken to SRC and said, hold on, not now. We are in the middle of a negotiation with the doctors in the country. But Mr. Shiyuka, it's not happening.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I think it is very unfortunate, because the issue surrounding all this, yes, is about a matter of life and death.
Yes.
We are discussing an issue that the end result is either you die or you live.
Yes.
Having said that, when you go on the negotiating table,
yes,
you don't go with your clenched fist.
Yes.
You go with your open arm, that give and take. And I think the minister has gone into the negotiation, and when you go into a negotiation, you go with your terms and listen to the other party's terms. So the minister has said, yes, I listen to you, but the commencement of this is in April. So I think, as much as I support the doctors, because that is their due,
yes,
legit, as much as I support them, but I call upon them to understand that the medical profession is a calling to save lives. So let them agree on the way forward with the minister, but also bear in mind that it cannot be implemented immediately,
yes,
because of the budgetary implication in servicing the whole agreement. So let them go into the negotiation with the clean hands, that we are going to negotiate, but let's also understand that some of these things cannot be implemented immediately because of the government budgetary implications. And the minister has said that this thing can be implemented next month.
On that particular one, Shika, just before I cross over to Sankara this morning, so why, again, in between this negotiation, would SRC write to the Ministry of Health and say, well, we're going, number one, to reduce the amount of money that is paid to medical interns across the country? Is that not the worst timing of the century, Shiyuka?
That's it's a tricky question, because
is it Shiyuka, or is just failure of the government to recognize the gravity of this issue? You have somebody who's telling you, we need 1.2 billion that you've not released for the other medical interns that we asked to be posted. One. Then you go right ahead, release a paltry sum of that, 3.6 billion. Then, without even telling them when you're going to release the rest of the money, in between that negotiation, in fact, majority of doctors on strike currently as it is, you hear another circular coming in telling you, you see this issue you're pushing for, the medical interns, they're going to be paid less than they're currently getting paid. What is that, Shiyuka? I mean, if you were seated right there at the Ministry of Health, won't you say, no, please stop? Right now is not the right time for us to do this.
Yeah, looking from the perspective of the situation at hand, I think the issue should have been left to be handled by the people being led by the Minister for Health, Susan Nahomicha, to handle the negotiation. I don't think it was right for the CRC to issue that notice when the minister was in the middle of handling this negotiation with the doctors. I don't think it was right. It was not right.
At this point, who do we call out for? And I say, somebody needs to take the blame for this. That we've watched it since this government got into office. We came in with a promise that service delivery is going to be key in this particular government, Mr. Shiyuka. It's a collective bargaining agreement that goes down back to 2017. Currently, they're asking for insurance, they're asking for promotions, they're asking for better pay, they're asking for interns to get onboarded. But we sat, Mr. Shiyuka, up to now. These are the things that we were promised we're never going to see in this government, especially at a time when they want to introduce chief. Is it ever okay for us to stand firm right here together for the sake of Kenyans and say government failure on this particular one?
I don't think you can say the government has failed, because the Kenya Kwanza government, I think it has lived up to its promise of respecting the constitution when it comes to devolution.
Yes.
It has released money timely to the counties to service the operations of the counties. So, but coming to this stalemate between the doctors and the minister, I think the minister is the person who should lead this negotiation with the doctors. And for me, without blinking an eye, I think it was uncalled for that circle to come in the middle of the negotiation.
Does that?
Yes.
If the doctor strike happens on Friday, Mr. Shiyuka, would you call out the CS for failing to get into an agreement with the doctors?
No, I will not.
Why would you not?
Because she has told them, she has not refused to agree on the terms, but she has said the commencement date of the terms is in April. So I call upon the doctors to agree on the terms and also agree on the commencement date of the implementation of the terms. You cannot go into a negotiation with a closed clenched fist that I want this and this. Let's agree on the way forward and also on the commencement. Because as I said earlier, any negotiation that involves money involves budgetary implications. And the CS cannot come on the table and say, yes, I agree on what you are putting on the table when the money is not there. She has to go back and see, how am I going to get this money? So that's why I'm saying we are dealing with a very grave situation, very delicate, that borders on the lives of people, which the minister is aware and also the doctors are aware.
Pretty much.
Yes. So we need to take this delicate issue with a lot of
the part of what she's saying here that would take commencement in April is just one issue. the posting of the interns. That's from April 2024. I mean, this is a story that I'm reading again from Lookuptv.co.ke. Responding to the internship program yesterday, the health CS, Susan Nakumincha, said the interns will be placed in April 2024 after the review in line with the Universal Health Coverage UHC. And then we get a tweet from the Ministry of Health that says today, Health Cabinet Secretary Nakumincha led the Ministry of Health leadership in a meeting with the Kenya medical practitioners, pharmacists and dentists union. The agenda covered cascading cross-cutting matters for whole of government approach on the ongoing strike in the country. But then the doctors walk out.
But you see, Mr. Simba,
yes,
negotiation is a continuous process.
Maza.
So if the minister has given on one item, let's negotiate on the rest as we go on. That shows that the minister is open to the negotiation. So if she has given the timeline for the posting of the interns, yes, it means she'll also agree on the terms. Let's give it, this is a negotiation and it's a process. Yes. Let's give it time.
George is smiling. George, I'll be coming back to you.
Let me correct you first, before, so that
before Sankara comes in. Yes.
She is misinforming, because I think what we are saying is that before this thing started, it was like post interns. They have been waiting so long. So since last year, November, waiting for this, I think it is taking too long. And we are having others who are coming out. Then we'll have a backlog, yes, which we might not be able to handle.
Yes.
Then the ministry moved on to lobby to get the resources, which means they were lobbying in the previous term as the predecessors. So when now we go see that they wanted around 4.8 billion, now they had already been offered the 3.63 billion. They were having some balance that they were chasing. I think now they are saying we have the money. But again, when they say they have the money, the goalpost has changed, and now they are actually coming up with something else, which is a circular, which is now trying to show that it's the government that has issue with how to deal with this issue. It's not even the staff. We have all rights. Everything, these staff have a right to agitate for the right thing to be done. In any case, what we are saying, we are assisting the government to implement their policy. So we are not wrong to tell the government to implement their policy. If at all we have the internship policy, we have policies that have been negotiated. For instance, the KMPDO have a CBA which is registered. For the clinical officer who are being paid, we have a memorandum that we negotiated and they started paying. Why is it that they renegade on that? Then that is where we are saying, is the government that actually is going on strike, then the healthcare workers are joining them to go on strike. Because if we have laws that we cannot implement, when you don't implement, what are you doing? You are on strike. You are striking against your own laws. So we have to join them to do that. But for us, we are striking to tell them that you have a responsibility. And for us, when they do it, it is them who take credit, it's not us. Yes.
Sankara, you hear the special or the unique approach that George is giving this issue this morning. George is saying, I mean, this is policy. The CBA is registered and recognized within your ministry. So we don't care whether it was done in 2017 when you're not in office, but your responsibility as a CS or as a ministry is to make sure that once you come into our office, you recognize the existence of those documents and that CBA and continue implementing it as fast as you can. Why is it, Sankara, that up to now, 2 years in our office, we're still talking about, and this is what Azimio Coalition members of Parliament said in the National House this last week. They said, hold on, it's not a surprise. She knew it was right there. I mean, if she knew there was going to be a problem, she would have started the negotiations a bit earlier. Is it a little bit too late for her to start the negotiations right now, Sankara?
Simba, before I dwell much into that,
yes,
you know, these laws, these agreements, they all narrow down to constitutionalism as a culture.
Yes.
Article 1 of our Constitution speaks of the supremacy of the Constitution and the sovereignty of the people. So if this is an agreement, a collective bargaining agreement, it is only imperative that the government implements it. There is no excuse about it because a government never expires. That's why we have permanent secretaries in place. When you come in, you pick it from where it is. The only problem is that we are having a government that wants to create everything new. It's as if Kenya is being born today. This country has been in existence for over 50 years. And for your information, let me tell you, an hybrid government allegedly comprised of agents of dictatorship in the previous regime of President Daniel Moi, a government that is comprised of the YK92 thuggery agents, a government that is composed of the Eurobond scandal architects, may have zero regards to the supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law. These are people who've never practiced anywhere. They have no regard, zero regard for attachment and internship, because these are new things and new terms to them. These are people who just found their way up in the political ladder. If you were to task them with responsibility to showcase their professional and career background, how they rose to be who they are, some of them may not really account for what they are, so they do not really understand what it takes to be an intern. I have worked in a regional facility, that is JOTRH. What my brother has told you of the works of the medical interns, my father, biological father, was a patient. Yes. He is still a patient to date. I can tell you for a fact, nothing he said that is out of context. When he walked into the hospital, the people who admitted him into the facility were the clinical officers, the interns. People who do the fluid set, everything that is done on a patient in the hospital or within the wards, it is done by medical interns. Yes. And you know, being a young person, most of them are also young people. We are outgoing, we negotiate, we talk, we interact. You come to realize that the government really do not appreciate professionalism. These are young men and women who took their time in school to study, to become doctors. Now people who do not appreciate the value of education are now seated in power, and they want to compel these people now to work out these things. A government that is solely interested in manufacturing hustlers do not have interest in embracing professionalism, building professional career background for the people of Kenya. If at all that is something that the government had in its mind, today we would not be talking of a scenario whereby State House, which has been in existence for over 100 years, is being renovated at a tune of billions of shillings, while professionals who've just graduated after paying enormous amount of money to the government in form of fees cannot be posted just as interns and remunerated to facilitate, one, their accommodation, their living or food, and their transport. These young men and women are not asking for too much. They're asking for basic things. And the people, the cows who do not want to comply with these basic provisions are being driven in SUVs. They are having FT medical allowances. They do not attend medical treatment locally. When they feel little headache, they are flown out of the country. That's why they do not understand the plight of the people of Kenya, and these are the taxpayers, these are the financiers. This is a very awkward position. It is very sad that we are still seated here today discussing when a medical intern should be posted. We are still seated here today to discuss how much a medical intern should be paid. The government is so fast in telling us how opportunities exist in the Middle East, where slave trade is still a matter of fact till today, but they cannot create those facilities and enabling environment locally. Before we can even post doctors outside Kenya, have we fully sorted out the medical gap locally? No, that's why we're still talking of medical interns being posted. So we have people playing politics with professionalism. Yes. People who went to school and people who never went to school. You know, there's a big difference between going to school and going through school. So, you know, some of the people making these silly, drastic decisions are people who went to school, but they never went through school. They do not appreciate the process. They do not appreciate the process of sitting on a locker, taking your time to study, taking a concept and making it into a reality and working on a patient. The only thing they can find is tear gas and bullets to kill people in demonstrations. You saw the SG of the KMPDU. He was shot with the tear gas canister on the head. The police were armed. They are ready to battle people who are fighting for their right. We are in a country where people do not understand borders. Yes. Peaceful picketing is a constitutional entitlement. But
Yes.
just as I told you, people who appreciate no regards for, who have no regards for the law, they do not appreciate the process, neither do they understand what ought to have been done when and how. So Nakumincha, in my own opinion, should have resigned by the time doctors started going on strike. She has absolutely zero reason to justify the ongoing strikes. In fact, it in my opinion that whoever is going to die in the hospital in this duration that doctors are on strike, Nakumincha should be sued for that. She should take personal responsibility. You know, I envision one thing about Dr. Fred Matiang'i, the former CS of various ministries.
Yes.
This gentleman believed in one thing. If we tasked you with the responsibility to deliver, it's either you deliver or we deliver you out. There is no room for excuses. So this is a government of blame games, blaming the previous administration. President William RUTO has been the deputy president for over 10 years. He was there when these collective bargaining agreements were being signed.
Yes.
He has absolutely zero reason not to implement it. We are not interested in manufacturing hustlers. We want a country that respects professionalism,
Yes.
not only hustlers. The idea of William Ruto's administration frustrating professionals is only to manufacture hustlers.
Yes.
We are not ready for that. And I'm saying as Kennedy Sankara, that personally I will not sit, watch and see the devil's eggs hatch in our country.
That's that. Here's the thing, George, and just take please, if you can take 45 seconds or a minute to respond to this, that we might be hitting CS Nakumincha so hard, because if you look at this letter that was written to her from SRC, this is what it said, that the commission approved this new stipend for medical interns placed in different cadres with a minimum salary of 27,000, which after statutory deductions, it will go back to 13,000 or 12,000, and a maximum of 70,000. And this is what they said, that SRC approved a stipend for a healthcare internship program for the listed cadre, subject, now wait for this, to affordability and sustainability. That letter read in part to the CS Health. Are we hitting us so much? It's not a problem, George.
I think it is unjustifiable to say that it's only when you're focusing on medical intern. The person who is signing that letter earns more than $1 million. They have their own children who are studying outside this country. And those are the people who are making decisions over people they call the hustler nation.
Yes.
And we are saying it is only in the health sector when the unions speak, they speak for the poor Kenyans. Yes. Because we are saying we want staff in our facility who will see the poor Kenyan who cannot afford to fly outside country to seek medical services, who cannot go to Nairobi hospital. We are talking about a language that the poor Kenyan should understand. We know there is politicization about all this issue, and if you look at our demand, there was nowhere that man was included. What we are saying is implement the policies that we have. Post in turn as is supposed to be,
yes,
and pay them, because we have not asked for any extra money. What is turned on us is that we are taking away what you are earning instead of harmonizing for those who have already been approved. Remember, I'm talking about a staff establishment of 2021, which has not been implemented fully up to date.
Yes.
So what you are saying, you are throwing it away, and no one, by the way, has ever controverted that provisions, which has given them a job group, which give them now a responsibility, because once you get the job group, then it gives the JDs, the job description,
yes,
on what you should be doing where you are going as an intern. So when you take it away, what do you mean? And I'm saying, without even any fear, that some of us could be more government than maybe him, Sheila. Why I'm saying that is that
yes,
we must not fear to tell the president that
yes,
you are naked. As he has said, he has been in leadership. He was he was an MP,
yes,
deputy president. He has been a minister.
He's the most matured politician.
So he is the most matured. He must not be the conductor. Let him be the driver of what he wants to achieve.
But up to now, George, if you may allow me, then by the way, they've got you coffee shaker this morning. But is it okay for him to respond to this? how is it that up to now, and gentlemen, I want us to weigh in on this particular subject together before we jump into the next topic this morning. How is it that up to now the president has not come out to speak on this particular issue? Shiyuka, are you concerned that since the strike started up to now, up to the point where as of today, they've already said that in these government hospitals that you are talking about, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, those are 600 bed capacity hospitals in this country. Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, 600 bed capacity hospital, that they're going to withdraw essential services from inside those hospitals. How is it that the president himself has not, that this issue has not got to the attention of the president? He's not spoken about it.
Simba, let me just find why he must respond to that. Is that Kenya is a signatory to the Abuja Declaration, which has taxed our country to actually budget 15% of our national budget, which has never happened. The president came with a projection that that's where we want to go. Now that it has not happened, and why we are talking about this is because of the lean and the coins, the few coins that have been placed there, because we only had a budget of 132 billion, which is less than 6% of our national budget. So that is the reason why the president must speak to this situation, which he is actually pretending is sitting like a conductor, and the people are driving.
Are you not worried that the president has not come out to speak on it? I mean, it's a nationwide doctor strike.
Yeah, Mr. Simba.
Yes,
I agree with you. It's a national issue. Which has captured the imagination of everybody. But we have to understand that the president cannot at this moment pronounce himself on the strike because, one, the person in charge with the docket of the ministry is Minister Susan Nakhumicha. And Honorable Susan Nakhumicha, he's now in the middle of the negotiation. So if the president comes and comment on it, he will be running ahead of the negotiation. He's leading the process of the negotiation.
Should he speak on it because the negotiation is failing? I mean,
she has said in several occasions that she's helpless. She has said in several occasions that she's helpless.
When she comes in to say, well, I'm helpless, I've got no resources for this, is that not okay then for the president to come in and talk on it and say, well, we're going to do everything possible to make sure we don't?
Not helpless. Because the process, the process of negotiation is on.
Mr. Shuka, what is a negotiation? In your own terms, please be precise. What is a negotiation?
Discussing the issue at hand.
A negotiation does not entail striking off things that were already agreed before and has not been implemented, and you are eyeing for an agreement to end a crisis. What do you call a negotiation in your own terms?
This is a new government.
The government is not new. The government is not new.
Let's agree.
To power. Don't lie to me.
This is a Kenya Kwanza government. So the issue that was signed in 2021, I'm not saying that we have solved the blame from the government.
Goes all the way back to 2017 as well.
What I'm saying is this is a new government.
How new is
the new manifesto? So the minister is now on the negotiating table telling them, yes, you signed this agreement when you were not in power. Let's sit down and see where the rain started to beat us. And we agree.
In the event,
he has not said to hell with you. I'm not sitting with you.
No.
Sit down and discuss.
So the point is that now this becomes a national issue. It becomes a national issue because the CS in charge is saying, I'm helpless. I can't do this. At what point do we expect the same way, Shiuka, the same way we've seen a government response to illicit brewing in the country, where the president is speaking about it, the deputy president is speaking about it, they're calling for meetings. Why is it that we can't handle this at this particular level and say, well, healthcare in the country is at stake, the doctors are going on strike on Friday, it's not something that we want to see, let's talk about it.
I think
they've not picked it,
I think the president,
His
Excellency the President, will speak about this issue
when?
At an appropriate time.
Yes, but the strikes.
Simba,
as of today, Shiuka, and you do know this very well, and I'll tell you exactly what's happening this morning, George, that we have a patient at the Kenyatta Referral Teaching and Hospital Center. My family do have a patient, and we're sort of praying that these doctors will get into an agreement soon enough so that they do not start withdrawing those services. As of today, the KMPDU is saying, you see even that Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital, that Kenyatta University Teaching and Referral Hospital, they are going to withdraw those services. In fact, as of today, the nurses were sort of speaking to us and telling us, we do not know how it's going to look like. But hold on, we're going to tell you, in the event we realize that the doctors are not here, we would ask you to look for plan B, because your patient needs critical care that we can't offer currently as it is. And not just for my family, majority of the families across the country are going to be faced with that challenge today. Are we sitting here saying, it's okay, the president will speak about it at the right time? Why not now, Shiyuka? Why can't the president come and denounce this circular from the SRC and say, stop it? We're in the middle of a negotiation. We can't do that. He has the powers to do so.
I think what I said.
Yes.
The president has the pulse of the nation on his fingertips.
Yes.
And I think he's giving the minister mandated with this docket to do her best. And I think Nakumita is doing her best. No. So if at this moment, if at this stage, the president comes in and starts, pronouncing himself about this, he will overrun the negotiation agreement.
Simba, allow me to say something.
Yes. He is allowing the negotiation.
For closing remarks.
He's allowing the minister and the doctors to come to an agreement.
Yes.
If maybe the agreement will not be in the interest
of the nation.
Yes. I'm sure exactly the president will pronounce
remunerating interns is not an interest of
Sankara,
the nation.
Sankara, at what point should the president speak on this issue?
By virtue of uttering strike, the president ought to have intervened and directed the Ministry of Health and called, summoned the KMPDU boss and the Association of Medics to have a constructive conversation, because even this illicit alcohol brew, we've seen Gachagua talking left, right about alcohol brew, and even the president addressing this matter. Is it not that Kindiki is not doing something? Kindiki is working. So let me tell you, the president, I'm talking from a political perspective.
Yes.
There are a lot of things that have happened in this government. Shots have been called, just as my brother said somewhere, that Nakumincha is there to be seen, but whoever is there to speak has decided to hold the conversation. The president has the powers to summon all these people and give a presidential directive, because this is a government, in my own opinion, that is so interested in populist politics and things that do not really touch on the lives of Kenyans. But when it comes to sensitive issues, matters of medical health, access to affordable health care, that is where President William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza regime draws the line. They have gone mute. Now you are talking of essential service providers. Yesterday, just in less than 48 hours, we've lost over 25 lives of Kenyans. A huge score has been admitted under critical care. For example, the comrades of the Kenyatta University, the 42 students and 7 who were lifted by AMREF to Nairobi Avenue Hospital for critical medical support. Just imagine a situation where these public health facilities like Moi, KNH are dysfunctional, and these critical patients are still admitted in these facilities. Where are we headed to? And that's why I'm saying, should we lose any patient during this time of demonstration, Nakumincha should be charged with murder. So there's nothing.
George, as you clear.
I understand him when he said that maybe the president will respond in the right time.
Yes.
But we are only saying that prevention is better than cure. So we cannot wait to cure when already we have lost lives. So what we are saying is that we must be strategic. And indeed, I appreciate that this government has been trying to be responsive. Even the aspect of the CS being there, trying to do 1, 2, 3, it is trying to be responsive. Because I've seen other government in the previous history in 2011, 2012 strike, which was one of the longest, where all the healthcare workers were fired, but again they went and pushed whichever they went, they got it. In 2017, similarly, on the same. I think we are only calling that the people who are holding mandate today, who are holding this strategic position, must be able to take responsibility. And indeed, someone will be asking, as you ask, why is it that we are asking for Nakumincha to step down? And why is it not the governors? Governors claim that health has been devolved. The issues that have been raised on the strike notice, and the demand that we also issued as much as the strike is not out, is touching in counties, like for instance CBS, the county says they must negotiate. That's through the COG, the Council of Governors. They have absconded their responsibility. Now I have seen even a statement they were saying that they are pushing everything to the ministry. they are behaving like a father who, when the child is actually becoming a rogue, ni mtoto wa mama. When he's good, ni mtoto wa baba. So this is what the county government is doing, and they have really absented themselves from this. And whenever, even let me remind you that the government promised to employ healthcare workers 20,000.
Yes.
When they tried to do it, the council of governors said you are killing devolution. You see? When he has employed these CHPs, the community health promoters, and he told them that we'll partner with you. You pay a half, because they have been there, by the way, but there was no formal engagement. So we'll pay a half so that you pay a half, because he knows if he gives them everything, they will still redirect that funds. So when he sees that they are delaying, he has started paying them. Submit, I pay mine, because I promised. Yes. What are they saying? You are killing devolution. So the government, and I understand that the president trying to absent himself, but he has a sole responsibility, because under section, I believe Article 43, yes, it is the responsibility of the state. It is not county. Yes. As much as when you go to devolution, you say that primary health is devolved, but the president has a responsibility, whether at the county level or the national level. Yes. And that is why you see that the national government has a responsibility actually to build the capacity of the county to discharge mandates that are under them, including now health. And that is why we are saying the people probably who are in management today, they are not able to internalize. And I'm not saying that probably they are incompetent, but probably they are there not fully knowing very well that they have a very short time to make the changes they are projecting. All these policies they are bringing over, there were many other that have not been implemented. Then it poses a challenge to the policies that they are bringing about, like the IFF, the primary health care bill, the shifts. All these are issues, and once you bring changes, are actually a problem that you want to solve. It can only be positive once you solve those problems or implement the policies that you put in place. So my actual last call to the president and his mandarin, rather his operators in the ministry, is that don't try to walk backward. Yes. Walk forward and ensure that you are actually looking like, where is the gap? Let me address it. If you don't do that, whichever you are projecting to achieve in the next 1 year, 2 years, I think we are crowing it back and we are killing the baby by our own hand.
Pretty much. Just my gentlemen, with your permission then, let's then jump away from the politics of the healthcare in the country and go to the politics of the county governments, where deputy governors and their governors are fighting. Why senators are at pain to understand. Let's take a look at this story, by the way, and we're not going to speak about it. It's just going to be an introduction of the topic that we're going to get into after this break. Once we come back, we'll hear exactly what the senators are saying about this particular issue, then get deep into that conversation. It's a story of the plenary hearing of one Deputy Governor Monda for Kisii County. Let's take a look.
For the second day now, the Senate continues to hear the case of removing from office Deputy Governor of Kisii, Robert Monda, who faces 4 charges including abuse of office, corruption and violation of the Constitution. Standing before the Senate, Monda denied all the 4 charges, citing political persecution by political leaders.
I, Robert Onsare Monda, do solemnly swear that the evidence that I shall give before the Senate in respect of the matters before the Senate shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
The fate of Deputy Governor Monda now lies with the Senate after the County Assembly unanimously voted to impeach him through the indictment process.
Charge number 1, gross violation of the Constitution or any other law. The particulars of the charge are as follows. Whereas Article 179(4) vests Deputy Chief Executive power on the Deputy Governor, and whereas in consideration of the provisions of Article 10 and 73(1) A, 3 and 4 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, insofar as it connotes the manner in which a state officer is expected.
The Deputy Governor was ousted from the office on February 29th by the ward representatives of Kisii County on grounds of abuse of power and corruption. John Matava, Lookuptv.
Guess what? First one to be impeached in this administration, out. So now they have to look for a new deputy, and that is one. SIMBA has to look for a new deputy. But then, when you listen to the charges, they are the same charges that are befallen. Number one, the deputy governor for Busia, Homa Bay. Was it Homa Bay, if you remember?
Yes,
Homa Bay, yes, Homa Bay, if you do remember. The same charges.
Siaya
County,
Siaya.
yes. They're the same charges that befell all the governors that have appeared before the Senate. Gross violation of the Constitution. One, Kawira Mwangaza. One, Wamatangi. One, all of this that have been brought together. Which senators are now saying, what is this going on in this county government? How is it that a deputy governor and a governor who are elected on the same ticket, pushing for the same policies, 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line, they can't see eye to eye? Once we come back right here, what is the way out? The Morning Drift. My name is SIMBA, Elijah Charles KIAGE, and Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. We are still with Sankara, George, and Shiuka. Let's talk politics, shan't we?
And the winner of the 32nd edition, representing also the EMC, Weldon Langat.
Every time you play Lotto, 25% goes to the Lotto Foundation, which supports our fellow Kenyans through various causes. Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
Buy Credo Chap across all networks bila stress. Go to M-Pesa paybill number 33000 na uweke account number yako na namba ya simu that you want to recharge. It's quick, convenient and hassle-free. In just a few clicks, buy airtime. M-Pesa paybill 33000 account, your number to stay topped up and connected anytime, anywhere. Chap. Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner. University of Nairobi is a distinguished institution of higher learning dedicated to nurturing your intellectual curiosity and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. From state-of-the-art laboratories to modern libraries equipped with the latest resources, we provide you with the tools you need to succeed. Choose from a wide range of programs designed to prepare you for challenges of tomorrow's world. Whether in STEM, humanities, business, or the arts, our strong industry connections and career service support will help you translate your education into meaningful career career opportunities upon graduation. Join a vibrant community of scholars from around the world, fostering cultural exchange, collaboration, and lifelong friendships. Book your space now for September intakes. Log in to https://www.uonbi.ac.ke for a wide range of courses to choose from. You can also contact +254 020 491 0000 or email us at pr@ounbi.ac.ke.
So Monda, first one in this administration to go home, already out. But not the first one we've seen go to the Senate for impeachment proceedings. We've seen 3 so far, isn't it? That's it.
Yes.
That's it. 3 so far.
Deputies so far.
Yeah.
1 governor, I think so.
One governor,
2 deputies.
2 deputy governors. That's it. So the Senate is worried. It's like, what's really going on? All right. Let's listen to the Senator Kise, so that we hear exactly his sentiments around that impeachment proceedings for one Monda. Let's take a look.
The Senate impeached Dr. Monda, but as you know, I abstained. The reason for that is that I have constantly and deliberately looked for a way on how we can engage our leaders. I think the way we've been fighting each other and making noise and making idiots out of ourselves in public, the issues of violence in this county, I have talked about it publicly, and I want to say here, I want to pray that Mzee Monda can hold it and continue with his life. I know that the law allows him to go to court. If he feels he's comfortable with it, let him go. But as I said yesterday, that display that I saw in the Senate was very, very painful for me. Our people must not be exposed to such levels of ridicule. I'm very happy that I'm here today. I have a team of about 45 leaders who come from the 45 counties of Kisii. They came here for first the launch of our oversight kitty in terms of setting up the pace, organizing ourselves, and making sure that this team begins to engage itself and to understand their responsibility and role and their mandate in oversight in the county assembly. I have specifically mentioned to them we will minimize politics in this exercise because we want to discuss issues development for the next 3 years. The time for politics will come. And I've told this team to be fair, reasonable, and make sure that we follow the law. Our agenda is not to disagree with the MC or disagree with the governor. Our agenda is to try and look for a way on how we can work together with the 3 teams. That's the governor, the member of the county assembly, and the senator, so that we can deliver services to our people.
So, he dissented. He didn't want to go that direction. And if you listen to him, he's saying, I mean, we've seen this. People just fighting with these counties. Deputy governors are fighting with these counties. Sheila, if you can, could you give us the front page of the Daily Nation this morning? Because probably that's where our arguments come from. Because if you look at this particular one, we do know that official duties dedicated to the deputy governor under the present constitution are to serve as a principal deputy to the governor, serve as acting governor in the absence of the governor from the county or the disability of the governor, or to become governor in the event of the governor's death. But also the constitution says the governor would decide which duties the deputy governor will carry during that tenure. So the Daily Nation this morning says then that governors and deputy governors are fighting because indeed deputy governors have realized they can take over these seats. So that's why we've seen majority of those impeachment cases then getting pushed to the Senate. Sheyuka, I will start with you now. Is it politics, purely politics, in the sense of it doesn't make sense why a deputy governor and a governor would fight? I mean, the governor is your boss, gives you duties, so let it be. It's like the case of the president and the deputy president. the president decides you're going to help me in 1, 2, 3, 4. We haven't seen Rigathi Gachagua fight the president yet. Why are deputy governors fighting the governors?
Once again, let me start and say that
yes.
One, the governor and deputy governors are politicians.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 2020 Constitution, under Chapter 6 of the Constitution, integrity and leadership, I think every leader, whether a governor or the deputy governor or a senator, should take responsibility of his action.
Mm-hmm.
So once you go out of the way against the Chapter 6 of the Constitution,
mm-hmm.
I think the Senate has a responsibility to discharge its mandate under Article 96,
yes,
read together with Chapter 119 to 113,
yes,
that it has to oversight and do its mandate. So when the governor or a deputy governor has been found to be gone against Chapter 6 of the Constitution, I think the Senate has a right to do its mandate and to flush him out of the office.
Yes.
And for the purpose of maybe, for the reason why they are fighting, you know, in this Constitution, according to me, the deputy governor is a lame duck.
Yes.
Because he doesn't have his own allocation. He is on allocation of duties.
Mm-hmm.
The governor decides whether to allocate the deputy governor duties or not.
Yes.
The governor decides whether even to allocate some funds for the deputy governor to be having tea during at tea break.
Yes.
So me, I think it's not about the governor or the deputy governor.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the Constitution. The Constitution should be looked into so that it can decide to give the deputy governor substantive powers and duties so that he feels comfortable. So at the moment, the deputy governor is not comfortable because he's just there. His work is to, if the governor decides that he will be going to the office, sitting there from morning up to evening doing nothing, that is the work of the governor. So the governor, the deputy governor, despite the position, he is feeling that I don't have anything to do.
Yes.
So he feels appetite. He's salivating for this position is just an inch away.
Yes.
If I can maneuver myself and get this position, why not? So I think the fight you see, the benefit you are seeing between the governor and the deputy governor emanates from the Constitution. The Constitution, in my opinion, should be looked into and give the deputy governors substantive powers and mandates, mm-hmm. so that they feel that they have something to do and a budget.
Pretty much. George, should we look into the Constitution to give deputy governors more powers?
Power without power, at the end of the day, is the service to Kenyans.
Yes.
And the CEO of the county is the governor.
Yes, the governor.
And that is what the Constitution envisages. Mm-hmm. And it says that these people run for position. Remember, the deputy governor is not an appointee of the governor. Mm-hmm. There is a position. This is your co-partner that you ran for and you presented him and you said, these are the person we are running. Yes. Similar to the way the president and the deputy president. And so the governor cannot be able to dismiss the deputy governor whenever they want. I think the whole issue is that we have seen few issues coming up between the deputy governor and the governor, but we know very well that a majority of them have worked very well. I give a good example of Kwale. The current governor was the deputy governor for the previous governor, and they worked very well harmoniously until they exited. Then he supported her to become the governor. And I believe that that has been applying somewhere. And probably either is that some of them have a way of blending in between to hide their problem. And you know, in the 48 laws where of power, they say that never outshine or outsmart you are.
Number one.
Yes.
Number one.
So
number one.
Every time this guy to come up that yes, I'm on account, I'm the deputy governor, my governor probably is just a politician, mm-hmm. and probably I'm the lawyer here, and I understand probably most of the things. I tend to be directing every policy, or an accountant, then I tend to be more of the one directing every tendering process and whatever. There is insecurity issues that arises, and when such a thing rises, or as the governor, I see the deputy governor speaking to my opponent. I feel that probably he's giving out information about my government. So at the end of the day, I'll try to build the walls, or rather separate this person from me. And as you do that, every time you doubt, every time you start feeling insecure, then that is where the problem begins. And you will find that they will go even further to even set up each other so that we are able the one to, because we have seen like in Meru, they accuse the deputy governor to be the one pushing for the impeachment. And the previous one where I saw also Embu in the previous government, the governor was also accusing his deputy of realigning with other people to push him. And similarly, that's what has been happening. If it's not the governor who is, if it's the governor who is going for impeachment, you'll find that the deputy governor most of the time will be accused of the same. In Siaya, the governor, who is former Senator Orengo, was also accused to have fronted, rather pushed for the removal of. So, however, I say, when these people meet together and agree that we want to go for the governor and deputy governor and we want to rally together, do they think that the main thing, once they get those positions, what is their main agenda? Do they really have the agenda of serving people or of enriching themselves? Or rather, even the deputy governor, wherever he is, he's looking like the next person in power here, or if in the absence of the governor, I'm the one to take over this seat. So with that I don't know how to struggling mentality, where someone is feeling like I should be the one to be there, or even they have already started building their own place in the 2027 election, and they are here in 2024, but already they are living their years in 2027. So there will be a lot of confusion, and that is why the priority will start shifting. That in Kisii, healthcare workers were in strike for 2 weeks because they have not been promoted. And the other thing, they have not been redesignated. Facilities have no drugs. We have around 17 facilities in Kisii which are not functional. This is not their priority. Their priority is who is able to be seen where and making a lot of noise. I think I've seen Honorable SIMBA in many of the situations, and I think the first time I started seeing, he was talking about ghost workers when he went there. But even after doing the audit, he never told us how many ghost workers were there, whether he removed them from the payroll or not. If we're told that was the situation, how much money did he save? We know he is also accused, and there have been glaring issues in terms of the NHF at the hospital, the Kisii Referral Hospital. He also has issues. It is also being investigated by the ESCC. So it is whole scandal after scandal, scandal after scandal. But it is who goes first. So in this, I normally say that Kenyans are on their own, because once the politician get position, first is how to satisfy themselves, and then the Kenyan, the poor Kenyan who are the electorate, are only directed. Either there are people who are running around me, I give them 200 to buy some few things, alcohol, they come shout in matanga, and that's how I make myself popular. Because in politics, popularity is either negative or positive. So that's what they actually thrive in.
Sankara, here's a question that in one way or another, county governments are not devoid of national government politics. That somebody said that somewhere the national government says we should have control over what goes on in that county. That's why we have feuding governors and the deputy governors. Case in point, why would Kawira Mwangaza and the deputy governor fight?
You know, Simba, let me say this. The difference between war and politics is that politics is war without bloodshed, but war is politics with bloodshed. Struggle for power. Two things keep workers working. One is fear and greed. The fear of not paying your bills, the fear of not being able to sustain yourself comprehensively as you would imagine, is what will keep you waking up every day to go to work, not because you love working. The greed to continue expanding your bill margins is what will keep you working. So I think pursuant to the provisions of Article 174, the objects of number one key object of devolution is to promote accountable democratic exercise of power.
Yes.
The moment you deviate from that margin, you are a suspect. I think when governors come together with their deputies, and by the way, before I continue, when you look at election of a county governor, they say somewhere, and these are the words of IBC, the constitution, that the IBC shall not hold separate elections for the deputy governors,
yes,
but shall declare the person nominated by the governor, gubernatorial candidate, as the deputy governor. I want you to read in red pens and in bold, nominated. The underlining word there is nominated. So, when the Constitution appreciates the powers of the gubernatorial candidate to appoint his deputy, the same Constitution denotes a deputy governor as a principal assistant to the governor. That point is very clear. Let politicians embrace rule number 1 of the 48 laws of power. Never attempt to outshine your master. When you go to the ballot by virtue of being appointed,
yes,
and then it is the favor, because without the favor of this person nominating you as the DG, you don't appear on the ballot. So once I have nominated you as my DG, we've sat together and drew the CIDP, the County Integrated Development Plan. We've agreed to execute. Where do you find the vacuum, the lacuna, to start playing petty politics of trying to inherit a living position? Even in the African traditional society, you can't inherit a woman whose husband is still alive. You wait until he dies, then you make your proposal. So you cannot sell your manifesto,
yes,
while the man is still in charge.
Yes. So do you fault the deputy governors?
Let me hear his version of things, because he's being more of academic and a realistic.
Yes. Yes.
But in our idealistic process, is that the current governors normally look for popularity. If you are not popular, you can't be the deputy, because it is what you bring on the table. That is why when you come on the table, even when they are appointing their first CECs, chief officers, is like, who is your person? Who is my person?
Yes.
Who is your person? So they balance that act.
All right.
Unfortunately, that's why we say, yes, the constitution really say the person you appoint. But before you appoint, there should be some specific specs that you must bring on the table. Like, unaleta nini kwenye meza? If I was a Sakaja here, I will be looking at who's giving me this.
Yes, that's it, Sankara. You clear your minute. Clear your minute,
Simba. You know, I've been very patient.
Clear your minute. Yeah.
So yes, the issue happening in counties is power struggle. I've talked of greed and fear.
Yes,
the deputy governors want to cut too much that they cannot consume. I mean, Simba, I was saying you can't inherit a woman whose husband is still alive. The deputy governor is elected with the governor, and 6 months down the line, he is already or she's already plotting on how to become the next governor. I think that is unconstitutional.
Yes.
It is immoral.
Yes.
It is immoral, and it's unethical. We should allow people. I mean, when you come together, you know, these guys agree before they get to the ballot. And that's why the Constitution says it's the deputy gubernatorial candidate to nominate the running mate. So once you've been nominated as a principal assistant, just shield your political ambitions. It is not bad to shield your political ambitions, but always be a good warrior. Know when to defend, when to attack, and when to retreat. You cannot be attacking all the time. When the deputy governor wants to play populist politics of tainting the name of the governor in public domain as a bad person, well, accountable democratic exercise of power is one of the key objects of devolution.
Yes.
I don't say that you see things going hayway in the county and you keep quiet, but the modus operandi you are going to employ in trying to challenge this situation is what will label you as a politician or as a leader. But again, we have people who are struggling with being noticed rather than being remembered. All they are doing, they are acting on knee-jerk reactions. Their politics is just something to create tension out of nowhere. I would want to see a situation where a deputy governor is going to confront the governor professionally in his office. This is what is happening. I am a principal assistant. When you fall, I fall. That is my constitutional role. This is happening. This is happening.
Yes.
The DGs should not give room for politicians to come and use them as scapegoats. Let me tell you, from a political perspective, and colleague political analysts will tell you, for the impeachment of Kisii deputy governor, you saw key figures like the MP for Nyaribari Church, or who? Sylvanus Osoro, the Honorable, was pitching in this war. You also saw the DG. The Osoro is fighting, and even the senator acknowledged that Osoro, not the senator, but Senator Cherargei, that they should go and play their politics in funerals. What is he trying to say? The DG should not accept to be used just as Dr. Monda was used to settle political scores between SIMBA Arati, the governor, and Sylvanus Osoro. Both Osoro and SIMBA are still holding their positions today as governor and MP for those particular jurisdictions. The casualty here is the DG. The DG should shield their ambitions until the right time. You know, you cannot cross river. Just let it get there first, then cross the bridge. You don't cross the bridge before you get there. You want to become a governor, and you've not even helped your boss to implement very petty, simple pledges that you made to the people. What do you want to govern? You've realized that, oh, this is an honeypot. I need to be picking my share. So let me find a way. Governor should go out so that I become the commander-in-chief. I said, amassing wealth. That is not the right way we should handle this.
Please take 2 minutes if you can. With the Senate knowing very well that this is just a power struggle that goes on within the county governments, what is the next course of action? That warning to the county governments, how do you make sense of it? And with the numbers known very well in the Senate, and with the majority of those impeachments also going to plenary sessions, where the entire House comes in to weigh in on a case, are we opening county governments to national or party control, where if the Senate, we do know exactly where the majority belongs to, they'll come in and make decisions for county governments based on the politics of that area? Yes.
I think it is very clear that before you plunge yourself in politics, you must know the mandate of the position you are going for. And the position of the deputy governor requires the holder of that office to be, number one, loyal to the governor. There is no negotiation about it. Because
it is ceremonial.
Because you were elected as a ticket to implement the manifesto that the manifesto and the promise you promise to the people.
Yes.
So there is no way, and you know that as a deputy governor, you don't have executive powers.
Yes.
All the executive powers are vested in the governor. So it is the relationship. It is your relationship with the governor that will determine if the governor will feel in his heart that if he can give you some powers, donation, and when he tells that he can donate or delegate it, delegate responsibility. That means if you are loyal and in good terms with him, he will donate his executive powers to you. But if you want to fight him, then how are you going to implement the manifesto that you ran as a ticket? That means you are not going to implement your manifesto. And I think the governor will be justified to say, now, if you are fighting me, what next?
Yes.
Number two, I think the Senate should play its role as, when we read chapter 96 of the Constitution, that now the Senate doesn't have the powers to get a governor or a senator to bring in to appear before it. But if the county assembly, in its wisdom and with evidence, they have done due diligence, due process, and the deputy governor is now brought before the Senate, and there is evidence, I think the Senate should just get its mandate and do away with this person, because we should not condone Chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity.
Yes.
Because that is what drives this nation. So if we condone Chapter 6 of the Constitution, leadership and integrity, just because of ABCD,
yes.
I think anybody brought in the Senate and there's evidence should go home.
Yes. Based on that, please take 45 seconds. We only have 2 minutes left for this conversation this morning. Okay. George, based on that then, how is it that the MCS will go back to the county assemblies, discuss a motion, put it forward, go back to the National House, and a governor or a deputy governor survives, when in reality they have got this evidence that they're actually pushing to the Senate? Should we let it go that the moment you go to the Senate, that is the feeling in the county assembly that you're not needed, so you should go? Case in point, Kabwira Mwangaza and the deputy, up to last week but one, the deputy is saying Kabwira Mwangaza wants me to resign. Is that not enough? Is that not violation of the office?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting issue. And remember, since the devolution started,
yes.
only one deputy governor have resigned so far.
Yes.
And it was taken to be a weaker point.
That's it.
But if indeed you differ in principle by your boss, what should you do? If you feel that probably your boss has diverged away from the real issue that you promised people, what should you do?
Yes.
And I think, the issues where county assembly have made decision, and they have made more decision, which have been actually not been approved at the Senate, which is still procedural, that yes, you have brought 1, 2, 3 issues, and we have not been able, I don't feel that they meet threshold. That is still okay. However, there could be even many other things that come to play that does not come which we might not know what happened, because yes. we know very well that if I have the financial muscle, I can be able to turn things around, and that is why we have poor people who will never get result in our court processes. But other people, their court process take short because the person can use money even to derail cases in court.
Yes.
And similarly, even they have been accusing themselves that they can be used even to vote. So if indeed they say themselves that they can be used to vote, then if they are induced, they can actually be induced to vote. So I think I ended there, but when I ended, let me say, where we started and where we are ending, we have a problem in governance and
yes.
leadership.
Yes.
There is a big gap, and that is why today, we have a demonstration by the UHC staff who have been, the process has been that they want to be transitioned from the contract to PNP, and that has not come to fruition because of lack of priority by the people who are holding position.
That's pretty much. Guess what, gentlemen, I would like us to end it there. Sankara, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Is that a closing submission? It looked like a closing submission. Can you do it in 15 seconds, please? 15 seconds. Yes, 15
government
seconds. Yes.
All governance and government is all about service delivery to the people.
Yes.
Never should we allow politics to take center stage and divert our attention from major implementable strategies and things that have been laid down for the people of Kenya. Because at the end of the day, it is not what you achieved as a leader, but what have you achieved on behalf of the people that you are leading. You will be remembered and not noticed. Let us not struggle with the power of being noticed.
Yes.
Rather, we should focus on being remembered.
Very much.
Yes.
Shiuka, 10 seconds, please.
Yes, I would like to take to advise the deputy governors, wherever they are, that you cannot implement your manifesto when you fight your governor. And they should take an example from His Excellency, the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, for the way he's conducting himself, being loyal to the president, and you see how the Kenya government is implementing.
This boss, we have to go back.
We can look into more issues on a deeper basis, but for those who do not know, it is Consumer Awareness Month. What are your rights as a consumer in the market? What should you know? What should you be knowing today when you approach the market? And what is the government doing around this particular area? We do have that conversation next with Alice Kamunta. Will be introducing us shortly after this tiny breather. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Always a pleasure having you around.
Tere Mambo ni mawili, kufikisha, kumwaga na kurudi. Kulala ni mwaka mpya.